Hello and welcome to the CBMM and Partners Mobility Leadership Debate. The mobility sector is undergoing a radical change and transformation. Increasing electrification, the development and introduction of autonomous driving and AI, and the drive for sustainable technologies are all increasingly important drivers. In this changing landscape, innovation and new partnerships are key to meeting future needs and building sustainable businesses within this dynamic and exciting mobility sector. Today I'm joined by a number of recognised leaders in driving and responding to these changes, and we are going to discuss battery and energy innovation. And so to start with, given this global drive towards electrification, I'd like you all to give me your single biggest energy challenge to deliver this radical change. Robson, if we start with you.
I think the biggest challenge is to drive the cost of the batteries. We need an overall batteries with a much higher energy density in these days in order to make what we believe that reach the point that the electrical vehicles will be very competitive with combustion engine vehicles.
A couple areas that are key to me would be in terms of, for sure, driving range and rechargeability. How to put a quick charge on your vehicle and make it like part of regular life. So.
Since 2010 to today, the battery cost has been dropped down by 80%. Around this point. I would like to add also the life cycle assessment. From the source of chemical to the supply chain, the processes to produce things, components, they have to be, the whole picture has to be with the reduced emission in order to really make a change.
Preston, what are your thoughts?
So we're going to see tens of millions of new electric vehicles on the roads, buses, trucks, delivery vehicles, cars, etc. Utilities are definitely in a position to deliver that energy. The question is, what is the energy mix that fuels them? That is to say, is it clean or is it coming from traditional generation sources that also have carbon?
David?
Yeah, I think it's interesting how we've covered a number of issues of cost and range are of course some basic thresholds for making this work. But I think one of the areas that is going to be a critical challenge is the infrastructure technology, and I would expand that to include artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicle software and middleware, connected vehicles, all the intelligence and big data that goes around that, privacy, all those types of issues are going to be interconnected with the true expansion to wide scale of electrified vehicle network.
Interesting. So on that, Jack, on that, kilowatt hours in a battery, we know where this is going. Can you give us a sort of idea of production battery volumes past and present and where you see that going?
If we look at the market in total globally, it's a 100 million unit market for passenger vehicles around the world. I would say substantial growth on the orders of 10, 20 times what we know today.
As far as motorsport is concerned and the work being undertaken by McLaren to produce better batteries, could you tell us a little bit about that and also what constitutes a better battery?
Right, so I will identify three layers of a development, three general points. One is the chemical side of it, so deciding the state of the art of the technology. Then there is from the module to the battery, which is more a design kind of aspect. And then there is the electronics. That's how I see it. I mean, not in order of priority, but these are the three pillars.
So we're talking largely about batteries in the vehicles. I also want to point out that batteries outside of the vehicles are massively important for the challenges that we have. Specifically, if you look at the optimizations both in cost and also how they perform.
Robson, while we're with you, could you tell us about some of the technical development work that's going on at CBMM? What's going on to produce these better batteries?
We are in the very beginning of the value chain of the battery business. We are raw materials suppliers of niobium, and niobium so far, for batteries, recent, I would say in the last 5 or 6 years, we've been addressing very aggressively this market in order to really develop a new battery materials chemistry containing niobium in terms of making, safer, more high power, fast charging type of batteries and also energy density. We've been partnered with some Japanese company, Toshiba, in order to develop a new, it's already in the prototype phase, new anode material, which is capable of fast charging. With this new technology, with niobium, with fast charging, we're expecting more stable and also the ability to reduce the charging of a vehicle in less than 10 minutes. So
Okay, interesting. Jack, we know that China is one of at the forefront of electrification and charging infrastructure, but where are the other key markets or market sectors that are going to be most profound and important?
The interest is universal. I would say Europe and the U.S. both right on the heels of that. In fact, obviously there's state-of-the-art electrified vehicles in the States right now, but China, I think, remains the largest market, but the growth around the planet is immense everywhere, in fact.
And Roddy, what is it that motorsport can do to help accelerate the innovation and performance improvement? We were talking about the fast charging there. Can that be helped by motorsport?
Yeah, I was just thinking exactly about that point. Well, personally, motorsport and innovation growth for me are the same thing. It's really down to the rules that the federations and promoters introduce in the sport that can definitely contribute to fix some aspects, not everything, but some aspect of the biggest challenge we have in the industry of mobility in the future. In racing, we had to work a lot on the power density aspects. If you think about a Formula One car, of course, it's a different design, a different application, but in 1 minute you can charge and discharge the battery during the lap. This means that the focus on the power density is a focus on efficiency, and this route takes you to the right technology and the right design in order to help the supercharging to happen. So the target has to be to go down to 5-10 minutes.
But what opportunities are there with innovation around sort of the recycling of batteries?
Yeah, recycling is a vast area, and it's going to be more complicated by the issue that Robson just raised with the price volatility of various commodities and raw materials, because that is going to complicate recycling. So recycling is from an opportunity perspective, it's the biggest opportunity we have. The flip side of that is the biggest challenge that we have, because with multiple battery chemistries and recycling and trying to figure out how to do it, so that remains to be one of our biggest challenges, I think.
That's right. It's not only recycle, but it's reuse.
Yeah, it's very
So you
cool.
take those batteries and you put them in place on site, and we can shave off the demand, the peak demand that occurs with, for instance, EV charging or the building consumption. So bringing that in place, that helps reduce the cost.
And I think that's why you see the innovations in the charging, particularly the home charging is a very important area, because the two places where people are going to park their car for the most part are going to be at work and at home. At work during the day and at home at night. And the draw on this, so we're going to see some innovations, not only technologically, but also behaviorally and from a regulatory point of view, to incentivize daytime charging so that we don't create a power draw at night when everybody comes home and parks their car in their garage. And maybe some smart charging applications to regulate the currents, the voltage requirements, the power requirements over time.
Robson, what are the technical limits on the development of better batteries, and what's the sort of blue sky thinking when it comes to batteries?
Yeah, the limits, I think, in these days is we want safer batteries, high power density, fast charging, high energy density, and everybody's looking for the perfect solution that brings all those things together in one single pack. So there is a lot of thinking about in terms of pure lithium metal batteries, which is the highest energy density that is possible, because we're using lithium as our energy carrier element. No? Yeah, all the energy that comes in the battery comes from the lithium that we introduce in the structure of the materials that's there. So if you design a pure lithium metal, you have 100% lithium metal is the highest energy density possible that you have. And when you think what the forward thinking, most of the scientists and even the startup companies in the Silicon Valley, they are all looking for all solid state batteries. And this will be very thin batteries with safe. It will give you a lot of opportunities for you to miniaturize batteries and to cut down the volume. So for vehicles designer, will be very nice. Instead of having a heavy pack underneath your vehicle, you have a much smaller and lighter type of battery. This is, I think, will be, at least in my view, the ultimate solution for the next 30 years. Yeah.
Preston, I know NLX has a vision for a new approach to electric power and empowering businesses and individuals. How does that fit into the energy landscape?
Sure. Basically, 100 years ago, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, they sat down and decided they weren't going to use batteries, they were going to go to internal combustion engines.
Yeah.
When they did that, they actually seeded billions and billions of dollars, trillions of dollars at this point, of revenues to oil companies. And we know where that's actually gotten us to today. Now, with the electrification that's happening, those car companies have the opportunity of a lifetime now to get back into the recurring revenue business, the subscription business, providing in some form services for their drivers. That's a huge shift and a huge opportunity. So the companies that Enel works with in the OEM space, the big companies, the car companies, the truck companies, we're basically enabling them to get in and to provide charging services in intelligent fashion. And that is a mix of renewables, again, also with traditional generation and sources. So we've run programs recently. We announced a project we were doing with Honda as an example, where with their cars, their electric cars, we're basically having a rewards program. Their drivers get monthly payments for that and also incentives for allowing us to do, again, usually very minor adjustments in the time or rate of charging, also at night or during the many hours when the car is not in use, but can be charged. So you only charge for an hour and a half typical every day at most, just on a level 2 home charger or at work. So you have a lot of latitude as to when you charge. So that's an example working with the car companies to actually offer a new service and offer new benefits for drivers.
Just finally, David, with these changes in energy infrastructure and everything, does that limit or support the global expansion of electric vehicle take-up?
The changes in the overall infrastructure are potentially could impede that, I would say. Because I think the people who are making those projections are actually quite optimistic about, the problem with infrastructure is economics and return on investment. The companies that invest in the infrastructure need to have it be profitable, and it requires a lot of money.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Really, really fascinating conversation there.